There are stories we expect to hear about monsters, but the most terrifying ones are about children who wore the mask of normalcy, polite, quiet, ordinary, until the doors closed. Today, the top 10 most brutal teenagers in history, whose crimes shocked psychologists, judges, and entire nations. No speculation, no myths, only facts. Documented, disturbing, and painfully real. Number 10. Josh Phillips, the boy who slept above his victim's body for 7 days. Josh was the perfect kid next door. Polite, smiling, mowing lawns, waving to neighbors. That's exactly why no one suspected him when 8-year-old Maddie Clifton disappeared. Every day, Josh joined the search. He hung flyers and walked with volunteers, stood beside police, while knowing Maddie would never come home. 7 days later, Josh's mother found a damp spot, a smell, and then, under his waterbed, the girl's body. Police were stunned. For a week, the 14-year-old lived, ate, played games, and slept inches above his victim. During questioning, he said he panicked, got scared, didn't know what to do. But investigators saw the truth. He hid the body, lied to everyone, and performed the role of the good kid. The court convicted him of first-degree murder. 14 years old, sentenced to life without parole. Number 9. Rod Ferrell, the teen who called himself a 500-year-old vampire and made others believe it. 16-year-old Rod told everyone he was an ancient vampire named Visago. To lonely teens, he became a charismatic leader and created a vampire clan. Blood oaths, night rituals in cemeteries, promises of immortality. Everything became real when he decided to free his friend Heather Wendorf from her parents. In November 1996, Rod and 3 followers entered the Wendorf home. Minutes later, both parents were dead, killed with extreme brutality. To Rod, it was a ritual. To police, a scene of uncontrolled rage. Ferrell spoke about the murders calmly, almost with pleasure. At 16, he became one of the youngest people in U.S. history sentenced to death, later reduced to life. Number 8. Kim Edwards and Lucas Markham, the teen lovers who spent the night beside their victims' bodies, on paper and 14 years old. In reality, one of the most shocking duos in British criminal history. Kim Edwards hated her mother. Arguments, rules, control. She told her boyfriend Lucas that the only way to be together was to remove her mother and younger sister. In the spring of 2016, they carried out the plan. Lucas slipped into the house at night, went upstairs, and killed Kim's mother, Elizabeth, and 11-year-old Katie. Then came the detail that stunned even seasoned forensic experts. Instead of fleeing, the teens closed the curtains, put on movies, ate ice cream, took a bath, watched Twilight, and slept in the same house where the bodies lay. For more than 12 hours, they behaved as if none of it had happened. During questioning, Kim said, "It felt like a relief." Lucas said he did it for love. Both were sentenced to life, with a minimum term of 17.5 years. Número 7. Nehemías Griego, el pastor hijo que eliminó a toda su familia. 15-year-old Nehemiah Griego was the perfect Christian boy, smiling, kind, quoting scripture, helping at church. In photos, a saint. Inside, someone secretly studying mass shootings and dreaming of his big moment. In January 2013, he picked up a .22 caliber rifle and calmly walked into his parents' bedroom. He shot his mother first, then his younger siblings, ages 9, 5, and 2. When his father returned later, Nehemiah met him at the door. Less than an hour, and the entire family was gone. But the most disturbing part came afterward. Nehemiah grabbed his guitar, got into the family van, visited friends, joked, talked about mission trips. Not a single emotion. When he confessed to a friend, the friend didn't even believe him. During interrogation, Nehemiah explained calmly that he wanted to become a mass shooter, planning to continue at Walmart until police stopped him. Officers described his emotional response as zero. In 2019, he was sentenced to multiple life terms with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Number 6. Daniel Bartlam, the teen who wrote a murder script and then filmed it in real life. 14-year-old Daniel from Nottingham looked like a quiet, ordinary kid. Video games, TV shows, nights online. But inside, he was writing a different plot. Literally. Weeks before the crime, he created a story. A step-by-step script of his mother's murder. The weapon, the motive, the fire, the escape. Everything laid out like an episode of his favorite drama. In April 2011, Daniel picked up a hammer, attacked his mother while she watched TV, then set the room on fire and ran off carrying the family hamster. Firefighters instantly saw the blaze wasn't the cause of death, and soon investigators found the script, an exact copy of the crime. During questioning, he tried to blame it on temporary madness, but the precision of his preparation said otherwise. The court called the murder cold and calculated, sentencing him to life with a minimum of 16 years. 5. Craig Price, the 15-year-old serial killer who laughed during interrogations. Craig Price was a cheerful teen from a quiet Rhode Island neighborhood. Football, jokes, the friendly kid next door. But at 13, he committed his first murder, an adult neighbor. The case went unsolved. 2 years later, he killed again, a mother and her 2 young daughters. The brutality shocked even veteran investigators. When police identified him, Craig didn't cry or panic. He laughed and calmly confessed, describing everything in detail as if telling a funny story. On camera, he said, "I liked it." State law meant he could only be held until his 21st birthday. 4 murders, 6 years behind bars. The public exploded. To keep him locked up, authorities charged him with assaults and threats committed inside prison. Today, Price sits in a Florida facility and will likely never be released. Number 4. James Fairweather, the teen who wanted to become a serial killer. In 2014, the English town of Colchester lived its usual quiet life, until one night the body of young soldier James Atfield was found. He'd been stabbed dozens of times. The attack looked random with almost no clues. 3 months later, a second victim appeared, student Nahid Almanea. The strikes were just as brutal. The town fell into panic. Police patrolled non-stop. The killer turned out to be 15-year-old schoolboy James Fairweather. He wore gloves, chose isolated victims, and dreamed of completing 5 murders to become a legend. During questioning, he said he heard voices and was preparing for fame. Police caught him by accident. An officer simply spotted a teen with a knife late at night. In court, he smiled, describing the murders calmly as if talking about a hobby. Sentence: life in prison with a minimum of 27 years. Number 3. Will Cornick, the student who murdered his teacher in front of the class. Will Cornick, 15, was smart, polite, even well-liked. But inside, he had been nurturing hatred toward his Spanish teacher, Anne McGuire, for years. The trigger was her pushing him to study harder. In 2014, during an ordinary lesson, Will stood up, pulled out a knife, and attacked her in front of the entire class. Students screamed, teachers rushed in, but nothing could save her. During interrogation, he said, "I'd been doing this in my head for months." No regret, no emotion. In custody, he bragged, "I'd do it again." The court called him exceptionally cruel and sentenced him to life with a minimum of 20 years. Number 2. Stephen Miles, the Dexter of British suburbia. 16-year-old Stephen Miles looked like an ordinary kid from quiet Surrey, but he lived inside a fantasy shaped by the TV series Dexter. He called himself a trainee and claimed an alter ego named Ed controlled him. In 2014, he invited his girlfriend Elizabeth Thomas to his home. Minutes later, she was dead. Miles acted methodically, just like in the show. After his arrest, he calmly said, "Ed made me do it." The court ruled it wasn't hallucination, it was cold calculation. Sentence: life in prison with a minimum of 25 years. Number 1. Aaron Campbell, the most remorseless teen in Britain. Aaron Campbell was a smiling, athletic, well-behaved teenager. But in 2018, he abducted 6-year-old Alicia McPhail, took her into the woods and ended her life. He even joined the search efforts, pretending to be concerned, until DNA exposed him. During interrogation, he smirked. "Well, I guess you caught me." Prosecutors called him a boy with zero empathy. Sentence: life with a minimum of 24 years. These 10 teenagers proved that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it wears a school uniform, smiles at neighbors, and passes as normal. Their stories remind us that human darkness can appear exactly where no one expects it.